Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topics on the servlets. Maybe it will be the session related to the servlets, right? In the continuation of the servlets, we are going to discuss the topic of the request dispatcher and a send error. First, we'll see that what is the request dispatcher and the send error. Suppose it is one servlet, okay? It is a website. Request dispatcher and send error both doing the same work, but approaches are the different. Suppose taking it as an example of the website or UI front end. Okay. From this front end, suppose a request arises. Suppose take it as a login form only. Take it as a login form. Suppose the request arises, it will reach us to one servlet, right? It will reach us to one servlet. When a request arises from the front end side, it will reach us a server based on the server requirement. It will goes to the one servlet. Suppose it will reach us to the when the request arises, it will reach us to the servlet A. Suppose it is a servlet A. Imagine that it is a servlet A. Suppose the servlet A has the URL path of slash servlet 1. Okay, slash servlet 1. It is a URL path of a servlet A, but the servlet A internally calls the servlet B. The servlet A internally calls the servlet B. Suppose there is a some information need or some output, it has to be rendering or redirect to the servlet B. Suppose from the servlet A, the request arises to the servlet B. Servlet B. Suppose this URL will be the servlet 2 is the URL end part. Okay. Suppose imagine the thing according to the UI front end view or user point of view, he was erases a request to the servlet A only, right? According to the point of user, he erases a request to the only servlet A, but servlet A internally calls to the servlet B. Okay. Suppose if you are observe every time when you raise a request, you can observe a URL part, right? Here you can observe the URL part. In before we are seeing with a slash life or slash dispatch like this, we can observe. Here also the same thing. That means URL will be the change. One servlet calls inside one servlet. Not only the servlet, it will redirect to the one HTML page or it will redirect to the one JS page. That means one resource will be transferring to another resource. Then the request dispatcher and the send rate will be helps to you. Both will do the same work, but one thing will be the difference. We'll observe the difference in a practical way. Okay. Suppose I have already one servlet demo, right? I'll use that. First, I can open this in a open perspective Java W. Right. Suppose in this I have already one servlet. The servlet is something life cycle, right? Something life cycle. I have a servlet. What I do again is I can create another servlet dispatch, right? We'll do one thing. You can create another dynamic web project. File, new. My dynamic web project is servlet demo 2, demo 3. I can generate my web.xml file also here by clicking this, generating the web.xml file. Right, where is this? It is a servlet demo. In this I can create one servlet. My servlet will be the, suppose, servlet A. Under this I can create one servlet. My servlet name will be the one class. It will be a servlet A. Okay, I'm not creating any. I'm forgot to create a package. Under this com.dispatcher I can create two servlets. One was the servlet A of the class and another will be the servlet B. My another class is servlet B. Okay, in the servlet A, first I am creating it as a servlet. How can I create it as a servlet? By using the extents http servlet, right? But I have to import it for a while. Public void post. I can go with the do post. Anything will be fine. Do post of http servlet request comma http servlet. Why? Because the service method by default accepts the two parameters. One was the http servlet request, another one was the http servlet response. Okay, I have to import this. Okay, in this what I can do is suppose first I am getting the request to the servlet, then I have to dispatch this to the another servlet. How can I dispatch this? Suppose you have to use the request dispatcher first. Request dispatcher, suppose I am going with the, it is a variable of rd or anything. Rd equal to what you are dispatching, the request you are dispatching to the another request. So request dot get request is nothing but here what you used, get request dispatcher, right? here you have to use here you have to use the location of the servlet b. That means URL of the servlet b. We'll give this later. Why? Because we are not yet decided that what is the URL part for that. Importing this request dispatcher, and this request dispatcher has the one thing. It was a forwarding of the request. How can you forward a request? Is rd dot forward of request comma response. That means what are the variables you are using here, you have to pass them. Okay, but why it will throw an error big? Normally servlet it will not transfer to anything. That means you are execution the normal flow, but you are excluding it. Because of that it will throws an error. You have to add the one throws exception of servlet exception. Okay, right here we have to place that first, right? I can create web.xml file for both at a time. The same thing for the extents http servlet. This is also I can make it as one servlet. Public void do post of. I can copy entire the thing. Huh. But here no need to use this. You can directly print something. Print writer of out equals to res dot get writer, right? Out dot println of this is a servlet b. Okay, servlet b. This is servlet b. I am printing a normal message in that. Okay, uh, first I can create a XML configuration. Okay, first I have to maintain the XML configuration. For that, in the web.inf file, go to the XML. How can I configure the servlet? Servlet. In the servlet, first one is the servlet name. Servlet name. My servlet name will be the dispatcher. Okay. Dispatcher is one servlet. My servlet class. My class name will be the com dot. Uh, what is the package name? com dot dispatcher, right? Com dot dispatcher dot servlet a is my servlet class, right? I think capital S, okay, capital S, the same thing. Next, what you have to do? Next, URL mapping, right? Servlet mapping. In the servlet mapping, under the servlet mapping, one thing was the servlet name. What was the servlet name you are used above? You have to use here also. My servlet name is dispatcher. So control C and the control V. And another thing you have to use is URL pattern. In the URL pattern, you have to define what the type of URL you can. Suppose my first one is the servlet A. Okay, first one is servlet A. The same thing you have to create for the another servlet also. For that also, control C, control. You can use the dispatcher. In place of dispatcher, I can go with the dispatched. It will be the servlet B, right? It was the servlet B. Okay, servlet A and servlet B. These are the two servlets I am creating. First I have to raise a request, right? So first, this is a normal servlet. Here I can place just now as a servlet B. Okay, that means which servlet you are passing. It was a servlet B. You can place it. That means it was a location. You can place it here. What the URL pattern you are using this, you can use in a request dispatcher. Request dispatcher always you can write in the first servlet. That means in a dispatching servlet. Okay. Suppose I can use the one HTML file, I can raise a request, or else I can run here also. I can create one XML HTML file. It will be the new. In the new, I can go with the HTML. My HTML is index.html. In this index.html, I can create simple form for raising a request to the servlet form. My method is now post. Why? Because I am raising request to the post method because of that. And in the action, I can I have to traverse for the which one servlet A, right? Servlet A form method, and here I can take one input field. Input name equals to suppose value. Okay, and another input, it will be the type of text, that means type of submit, right? This is one simple form. Once I'll run this, run as run on server. Right, this is my HTML file. Here I can add one thing, suppose submit. If I click on the submit, it will dispatch it to the servlet A, right? But servlet A is not available. Do one thing. Wait a minute. The problem is with Control C. get. But I am using the method post, right? Right. Servlet P. right? In before, what the mistake I did is because of in the servlet A, normally you are raising the request to the servlet A, right? The servlet A is the method of two post. I am intimating in the index.html the method will be the post, right? But in the servlet B also, I, because of the copy paste, I use the do post here. By default the nature is a do get, right? there is a there is a overlapping of this difference between the get and the do post. It will raise as an get method error. That is the issue. Here you can place the do get, it will be fine. That means you have to intimate. Normally you, when you raise a request, it will go for the get type of request. If you are using other than that, you have to mention it, or else it will throws an method match, method not match, like that, right? For that I mention as service. Service means it will be accept any method, so I can go with the service, right? If you observe here, if you observe here, where is I am in the servlet A, that means I am raising request to the servlet A, but I am is at the location, that means this is printing from the servlet B, right? This text is printing from the servlet B, but I am calling the servlet A. That means servlet A internally calls to the servlet B. Servlet A internally calls to servlet B. Suppose if you are used, that means according to the browser point of view, I am raising request to the servlet A. I am getting response from the servlet A only. But actually you are getting response from the servlet B. But according to both the point of view, you are getting the information from servlet A. You are raising request to the servlet A and you are getting also from the servlet A only. Internal operation you are not know, right? It will cost to the servlet B or servlet C or any number of servlets, but you are at the last you are getting response from the servlet A only. It was the thing. But the difference with the send redirect is send redirect in place of it is servlet A. Here I can use that request dispatcher, right? In place of request dispatcher, if I use send redirect, send redirect means you are redirecting response. Normally this response here you are dispatching the request, but in the send redirect you are dealing with the response. This servlet A response you are redirect to the servlet B. We'll see that res dot send redirect. In this the same thing, to where you have to send servlet B, right? Servlet B. This is I am redirecting to the servlet B. What the way you are processing with the request dispatcher, that is the operation here also it will work. But the difference is, if you observe, I am at the here, right? Okay. It will loads the time. Right? If you observe, I am at the servlet B, not at the servlet A. That means you are intimating to your browser you are not getting the response from the servlet A, you are getting response from the servlet B. But actually, according to the browser point of view, I am raising request to the servlet A, but also I am expecting response from the servlet A only. But here I am getting response from servlet B. This is the difference between request dispatcher and the send error. Where you are raising the request, to which servlet you are raising the request, from that servlet only you are expecting the response. That will be the request dispatcher. But in the send redirect, you are raising a request to the one servlet, you are getting response from the end servlet, where the actual output you are getting from the servlet. By this, what will be the issue is, you are losing the information of a servlet. Suppose in the servlet you have to execute something, it will be fail. Why? Because data loss will be happen. Why? Because you are getting the output from the servlet B, not in yet a servlet A. You are raising the request to the servlet A, so you have to be getting response from the servlet A itself. But you are getting the response from where it will be redirect from the endpoint. That you have to observe. In before you have getting from the servlet A, but here from the servlet B. This is the difference between a request dispatcher and sender. Both are working from the traversing from one file to the another file. It will be the from servlet to the JSP, or servlet to the index.html, or servlet to the servlet, anything. But the difference is you are getting response from the endpoint or raising request point. It is the difference. Suppose you want to pass the values to the one servlet to the another servlet, then you can do it by request dispatcher. Okay. In before it is this, right? I am reading the one value, right? That will be the val. How can I get it here? I can get that here by using, suppose, the integer type of value. Suppose int val equals to integer dot percent of percent of request dot get parameter. My parameter name will be the val, right? So by this I can get the integer type of value, and I am my intent to pass that value to the another thing. Pass the value to what the servlet be. How can I pass? It is same. Here request dot set attribute is a function to set the attribute values. My attribute name, it will be anything. Suppose I'll go with the dispatched value. Okay, dispatched val is my attribute name, and here you have to pass the value of the what the value you have to pass. Suppose I am passing the value of I am reading value val. Okay, I can pass it like this. Then how can I access in the servlet B? Normally, like a request dot get parameter, you are passing through the request, right? So you can get it by request dot get parameter. Suppose integer type of value, int val here. That val is different, this val is different. Suppose value equals to request dot get parameter. Uh, Here you have to pass what the value? Dispatched value. Why? Because I am in this servlet A, I am setting the value for the dispatched val by using this val, right? That means dispatched value is the variable. I am setting that. By that I can access in the servlet B also by using that same thing. Here why I am getting this error? Because by default request dot get parameter getting the strings. So I need to type convert it here. It is not coming from the browser, so I can normal typecast it. Here I can go with the what is the error? Change to type of value. Okay. For a while, I'll go with this value. Here I can pass the value of 24. You can expecting the output from servlet A. The output will be the this is servlet B null. Why null? Why null? Why null? Wait. That means I'm not getting any value. Why? Both are not same variable names. Check it. Control C. Control V. Okay. Or else in the index.html what I am using. It is the issue. Okay. I'll rerun. React to servlet A. Null. Again null. Okay. Well, in the servlet A by using that integer dot parseInt of request dot get parameter val. Okay. By using val only servlet B. I'll rerun it. This is the way you have to pass the values normally. You can observe why. By null. Request dot get parameters. I'll change this to the get. I can observe the value is passing through the door. In the servlet here, I can change it to the get. Do get. First I can check the value is passing through the URL or not. HTTP method post is not supported by this URL, but I am with the get right. Control Shift R. Val equals to 1. Getting it. The servlet val I am getting. Okay. The issue is what I am using here, get parameter, right? Here I have to use that. I am setting the attribute, so I have to access the attribute. I am checking for the parameter get attribute. Then you can typecast it. Suppose here int, then I can typecast it to the int here. Right. That is the difference. I have to go with the get attribute because I am setting the attribute value, so I have to get the attribute values. It's a simple thing. Mm. 1 minute. Yeah, here I'm getting. In before what I did is I am setting the attribute values, but I am go with the parameters. Parameters means which was passing from the URL, right? But I am setting the attributes. Attributes is different, parameters is, so I have to use the get attribute. That is the thing. And normally for the servlet you have to set the values. There are the other two concepts is also there. One was the servlet configuration, one was the servlet context. Servlet configuration is nothing but suppose in the web.xml file I have a servlet file, right? I have a servlet. Okay, I'll create another servlet. Normally you can create the servlets in a other way also without writing the XML configurations also. Okay, without writing of the XML configurations also you can create a servlet. That is another way. I'll show that. But now in the same thing, what it is servlet class. Suppose I have a servlet class A, right? Now I can show the servlet configuration and the context difference. Suppose I have the servlet class. This is my servlet. Inside a servlet I can define for every class some initial parameters. How can I set it is init param. In this init param you can use the param name. My param name is the suppose web is my parameter name, and another thing is the param value. Okay, these are the two things. The value will be the suppose it will be the local host. Suppose it will be the local host. right? Param value and param name. That means suppose you are forget sometimes passing the values, then initial parameters you can use. These are called as initial parameters. That means for the entire servlet, every every servlet, that means this scope for the servlet configuration, this is called as servlet configuration. This servlet configuration scope is for entire servlet only. Entire servlet, suppose I have servlet A and servlet B. If you are try to access this web in the servlet B, you can't get it. Inside the servlet B, you can't get it. Why? Because servlet configuration is the scope only for the servlet. Outside the servlet you can't use. For that you can use that servlet context. First we'll see that the servlet configuration. These are the initial parameter values. You can set that initial parameter values and get those. How can you get those initial parameter values? Is in the servlet here. Suppose for a while I'll remove this request dispatcher. Okay, I'll remove this request dispatcher, control question mark. Okay, here I have the values. I am getting it from the parameter, right? uh, Now here I can create a servlet configuration. Servlet config is a interface. Servlet config is a interface. I can give it as a cfg equals to get servlet config. Config, this is the way you can configure the entire things what you are using for the servlet configuration. You have to import this interface servlet config, import servlet config, get a servlet config of. This is the way you have to create the configuration. Now you can access. How can you access this? By using the, suppose I want to store a string. Why? Because I am using it as a strings, right? So I can go with the string. My string name will be the uh, host. Okay, host is my string. String host equals to, how can we get it, is cfg dot get init parameter. That means if there is no name exists, suppose you are passing from this url, it will be fine. If you are not passing anything, it will take the initial parameter values. Suppose my name is the what it is, I think web, right? Web is the name, right? So I can simply pass the web. Okay, simply pass the web as a text. Okay, web as a text. Here I can print out dot, okay, print writer, out equals to res dot get printed. Suppose I have to write something on the, I have to import it, right? Change to print writer. Now I have to add the IO exception also. It will be there, right? Okay. I can print out dot print ln of, out dot print ln of host, right? Host I can print. Okay. Once I'll run that, I can save all the file, right? The same thing. It was loading. Wait. I can go with the 23. submit, localhost, right? But I am not passing the thing, right? But I am accessing by using the servlet configuration. Servlet configuration is the configuration level of a servlet domain. That means entire the servlet only you can access the initial parameters. You can write multiple initial parameters. Suppose you want to use for the all servlets something. Suppose you want to use all servlets, then the thing is suppose if you want the all the servlet, then there is an option called servlet context. How can you create a servlet context? This init param always you have to write in the under servlet, under servlet. Okay, inside a servlet you have to write, but context param is for entire all the things, right? So you can write here context param. In the context param the same things, param name and the param value. Suppose these are the things. Control C, control V. But here I can go with the app, web app. In this I can go with the search. Okay, the same thing. How can you create for the servlet config? You have create object for the servlet context also. Suppose here I can create servlet context in place of servlet config. By this I can access the servlet config, right? Servlet context, servlet context ctx. Suppose ctx equals to get servlet context of, get servlet context of. By this way you can create, you have to import this servlet context. Okay, string my app name. Suppose app equals to, how can I get ctx dot get init param, get init parameter, get init parameter. My parameter name is web app, right? Web app. If I run this, 24, wait a minute, I have to refresh the server. 45, submit. What happened? We'll see. Only it will print localhost init parameter of web app. Okay, okay, I am not print anything. Out dot print ln of app, right? I am not print anything. Control C, control. right? Localhost search context param is for you can access for the all servlets, but servlet configuration is for only the within the servlet. Outside the servlet you cannot access. If you write one context parameter as a value, then you can access for the servlet A, servlet B, and servlet C like that. And for this attribute value sharing, another concept is there. It was called as a HTTP session. That means you can use the HTTP session. You can set the variables to that. By using HTTP session, you can set the variables. How can you set? Is suppose simply I can remove this all. This is the servlet configuration and the servlet context. Servlet context is for within the servlet you are trying to access. Suppose I can use the same request dispatcher process, but I am not setting the any value by using the request or set parameter like this. What I do here is I can create one HTTP session. HTTP session HTTP equals to request dot HTTP session, I think request dot get session. I have to import this HTTP session and this get session, I think capital S, right? Get session. You can set the attributes by using this HTTP session. You can set the attribute. That means entire HTTP session you can access the attribute values in any servlet or anything by using this HTTP dot set attribute. Suppose set attribute of for the same thing val equals to 12. Okay, val equals to 12. Okay, val equals to 12. I am setting the attribute value, and in the setting of the attribute value I'll try to access in the request dispatcher, right? Servlet B. Go to the servlet B. Here I use the get attribute for the dispatch value, right? I am getting the null here because it will not there. Here also the same thing, HTTP session. You have to create one HTTP session and create a request dot get session. Request dot get session. Okay, I have to import this. And here I can access it int, suppose value. Okay, int value, already I used the value, so because of that int value HTTP or HTTP dot get attribute. There you can use the set attribute, right? Here you can use the get attribute of my attribute name is val, right? But I have to typecast it. I can use the int here. I can use the int here to typecast. Okay. Now the same thing. Okay, good. I'm setting the value 12, but by using HTTP. By using the HTTP sessions, you can set the values to the entire session till you are have to clear the cache and all. Suppose I can set a value of 45. or 50 65 submit. I am redirect to the servlet A only. Why? Okay, this is servlet B 12, but I am setting the value by using HTTP. Here you can observe the three types of setting of the variables. One by using the servlet level, by using servlet configuration, another by using the web app level. That means the entire servlet, all the servlets by using the servlet context. Another thing by using the HTTP sessions, right? These are with the servlet all the concepts. These are entire servlets will be helps to you AM to relate that concept is same, but the syntax is different. Like here you can use the HTTP servlet, there you can use the Sling servlet. Configurations is different. There you can use the annotations for everything. Here you can use the servlet configuration. There you can use the init values at the rate annotation of init values, value map. Like this you can use the annotations there. Concept is same, but the usage of the things will be the different, text or anything, right? This is with the servlets.